Winless teams, backup quarterbacks, undefeated teams, Gordon Hayward, all things that we'll be covering in today's podcast. Hi, I'm Dirty Jake, with my co-host, Danny Dishner. Also guest starring today is, reluctantly, my brother, Jobo. Hi, Joe.
Hi.
So let's go ahead and get into last weekend's top 10 events.
All right. You want me to begin? I will begin with the Baylor Watch.
Have they won yet?
They have not. They are 0 and I believe 7. It might be 6, but I think it's 7. They lost last week 59-16 to Oklahoma State. Not even close.
They're getting better.
No, they're not. They're getting worse. Next up, they get number 23 West Virginia with their bowl hopes on the line.
So that means they're 0-6.
They have bowl
They are
hopes.
0-6. If they win out, they will be 6-6. So if they lose this week, their bowl hopes are
Do
officially
they have bowl hopes, though?
Well,
Their hopes should be going towards a win.
I think they're 10-point underdogs to West Virginia this week. I think they're probably going to lose.
Yeah, probably.
That's what I have, at least.
Yeah.
Will Greer, he's thrown more touchdown passes than Florida and Florida State combined, I think, this year.
Good for him.
Baylor doesn't have a win, so I'm gonna go with West Virginia in that one.
Yeah, me too. Number 9, Ezekiel Elliott. That crafty bastard. He's going to be playing still.
Yeah.
He found a judge to add another restraining order and prolonging the suspension, which, you know,
We'll see how long it lasts.
it's going to happen, and every week that he postpones this is another week towards the playoffs that he could potentially miss.
Yeah, I mean, the longer it gets blocked and the longer he fights it, it hurts fantasy owners in the long run because they won't have him during the most important part of their year. But for him, I just think he wants to keep playing for as long as he can. I don't think he cares about the fantasy owners.
Yeah. Ezekiel Elliott, don't treat this like your wife and or girlfriend and stop fighting it.
Is it possible that we're 2.5 minutes in and this podcast is already over? Number 8.
Wow.
There were 7 ranked teams that fell to unranked opponents last weekend.
4 of them in the top 10.
4 in the top 10. Number 25 and number 24 skews it a little bit, but 7 teams on a week that no ranked teams play each other. That was pretty crazy. Big week for college football. There's 15 ranked teams playing unranked opponents this week. How many do you think lose?
2.
2 only. Okay. How about you, Joe?
2.
Jesus Christ. I'm going to go 5. I'm going to go 5 teams lose to unranked opponents
What
this week.
5?
Following up on last week's craziness.
What 5 teams?
I'm not going to give you 5.
Because you don't know all the games.
I do not have all the games in front of me, but I know that there are 15 ranked teams playing unranked opponents this week. I'm not going to give you my 5, but we'll get to a couple upsets a little bit later, you piece of shit.
Just going to go ahead rapid fire. Clemson, number 2, lost to Syracuse. Number 8, Washington State lost to Cal. Number 5, Washington to Arizona State. Number 10, Auburn to LSU. Number 19, San Diego State. Why are they ranked? I don't know. To Boise State. Number 24, Texas Tech
They were
to West
undefeated.
Virginia. Shut up. Number 25, Navy to Memphis.
Navy was actually the underdog in that game. That was my upset pick of the week. Unfortunately, it did not pan out.
You bitch.
All 7 of those games, by the way, conference games. Very important. And all of them fell.
Neat. Number 7. So I just thought this was kind of funny. NFL ratings. Since 2015, the first 6 weeks of 2015, are down 18.7%. And then since last year, we're down 7% NFL viewership ratings.
I have a thought on that, but I'll let you...
No, I was about to open the floor. Why do you think that is?
Well,
I think there's a couple things.
Here, you let me know what you think it is, and then I'm going to jump in and tell you what I think it is.
I think
part of it... if you have the...
Part of it's streaming.
Okay.
Less TV viewership, I think.
Okay. That's my main thing, is the whole cable cutting thing. I think that's what's killed their viewership.
Yeah. Roger Goodell isn't helping. People are taking a knee during the game to not watch it. I think that's a part of it for this year.
Yeah, but it's gone up over the last few weeks, even with all the controversy. So I don't know how much that's actually going to have an effect long term. I think targeting had an effect on it, too. The targeting rule, people hated that.
What do you think, Joe?
I think you guys have already touched on a lot of major points. I think the streaming has a lot to do with
Louder,
it.
Joe!
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine.
I think
I just want to hit the tape.
The streaming has a lot to do with it. I think the fact that DirecTV is offering those refunds for people on Sunday Ticket because of the taking the knee. So
yeah, but this is all the way
if you don't
from
have
2015.
DirecTV, you are crazy. Call your local DirecTV dealers today.
We're not getting a sponsorship. Chill out. These numbers are from 2015, though. The take a knee thing and all that just happened this year.
That's what. But I said it's down 7% from last year.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. But it is interesting to note, and it is noteworthy. I mean, it's causing a lot of riff in ESPN too. I mean, with their ratings being down.
Wait, ESPN also, or ESPN2 specifically?
Both.
Way to clarify.
All right, so what's the next one, Danny?
The next one, Aaron Rodgers out indefinitely with the broken collarbone. I know that hurts your fantasy team, Jake.
2 of my 3.
Yeah, it's rough. He's gonna have surgery. He might miss the rest of the year. There's a possibility he's available for the actual playoffs, not fantasy football playoffs.
If they make it to the playoffs.
Well, that's the thing. Do you think they make it to the playoffs now? They're sitting at, 4-2?
Yeah, I have to watch Hundley play this week.
Brett Hundley out of UCLA.
I don't think that they do.
I don't think they make the playoffs either. I don't think they're going to win the division. I think either Detroit or Minnesota is going to take that. And
the biggest thing for me is I don't see Aaron Rodgers is the type of quarterback that makes players that are below average or average better around him because of how he is. And I don't think they have the talent to have a backup quarterback lead the rest of the way and still go to the playoffs.
yeah, I mean, they have no run game. They're using a receiver
Right.
running back. And
Exactly.
I mean, now they have Aaron Jones. I don't know if he's going to provide a spark in the meantime. But they're going to have to run the ball a lot more. And I don't think their offensive line's great at run blocking.
I don't think Jordy Nelson's healthy. And it's going to be interesting. But I think the Vikings can run away with the division now with that.
Yeah, even with Case Keenum.
Yep.
Yeah, Case Keenum has been my official replacement for Aaron Rodgers in one of my leagues.
Better look at Brett Hundley.
Yeah, he's the replacement in my other league.
Look, I mean, if Green Bay thinks he's good enough to replace Aaron Rodgers, why can't you?
Yeah, you're right.
There you go. It's perfect.
Yeah,
What
perfect.
logic?
I gotta go. I gotta set my lineups now. But in the meantime, let's talk about the Pac-12 implosion. Remember what I was talking about that in the college football special?
Nope.
Oh my god, you son of
I remember it. Yes, I remember it vaguely. If we go back to the college football special, a lot of things that were said that are not true now. But
that one is true.
this one looks like it may be coming true. The Pac-12 may still get somebody into the playoff.
We could talk about that in a minute. I have some
Okay.
some crazy scenarios that I was looking up, and one of them's kind of funny to me. But you look at Stanford; they have 2 losses, and one of them was to USC. USC then lost to Washington State, who then lost to Cal, and then Washington lost to Arizona State. So you have all these teams that are just losing. All the top teams have now had a loss. So depending on how the other teams in the other Power 5 conferences do, they probably don't have a shot. USC, which seems the most likely right now, they have to play Notre Dame, and we'll talk about that game later. And that is the one of those 2 teams are going to lose their playoff run with that loss.
Yes, I don't disagree with that, but I mean, there's still 3 one-loss teams in the Pac-12 that can make the playoff. The last 3 that you mentioned: Washington State, and USC. They all could make the playoffs still if they win out.
A lot of other stuff has to happen, though.
No, they just have to win out. They control their own destiny.
No.
Yes, they do.
No.
Yes, they do.
No.
Why don't they control their own destiny?
We'll talk about it later. That's like my number 2.
Okay.
So just going to the next one. I just wanted everyone to know I can pull the sound bit again. Check out our preseason college football playoff special. I called it. I am Lord.
No, you're not.
They haven't
Who'd you-
imploded yet.
Yeah.
Oh, they've imploded.
Who'd you have in your top 4?
Those for fun, right?
Okay.
I still said they were going to implode.
All right. Anyway, sticking in the college football world, our next item on the docket: 8 undefeated teams left in college football this season. Alabama, Penn State, Georgia, TCU, Wisconsin, Miami of Florida, USF, and UCF.
6 reasons why Pac-12 team won't make it to the playoffs this year.
There are 8 undefeated teams.
And I said 6 reasons.
You did say 6 reasons.
UCF and USF will not stop the Pac-12.
They are
from
not
going
a
to the
reason.
playoffs.
That's fair. That's fair. Do you think Wisconsin gets in?
Depending on the other 5 reasons, probably
Wisconsin's
not.
played a worse schedule than USF has, arguably.
Yes, I know.
So
I'm just saying. But they're already high up there. USF and UCF are not.
And
We'll
they're
see.
the Power 5 teams.
I mean, we're looking at the AP poll. That's what we're basing that off of, that they're high up there. The committee could come out and say that Wisconsin's not even in their top 10. That may happen.
Because they're cool like that.
because they have the power.
They do what
to
they
that.
want.
Because there's they haven't played anybody.
Nobody.
Anybody. They play Michigan is
their entire opponents is
stop it.
All their opponents are under 500.
Yeah. I think they play Michigan as their toughest game.
Neat.
It's not going to get it done. They'll have to play somebody good in the Big Ten championship. But
so go ahead and ask your question out of those 8 teams.
Who do you think will be the next team to lose?
Well, kind of jumping ahead to my upset pick of the week, I have to say UCF.
Okay. I mean,
otherwise,
we're all entitled to our own opinion. I mean, you just like to pick against my teams in the upset picks just to see if you could,
for the first time, spent 20 minutes on deciding my upset pick of the week this week.
You do realize that the 2 upset picks of the week, not to spoil it or anything, are both my teams for you guys.
Yeah. Oh, is that so?
Yeah, that's so.
Well, you do have a bad trend of picking shitty teams to follow this season, so I'm feeling pretty good about our picks.
It's not just this season. I followed them for a lot longer than just this season.
Shut up. So the next one.
But anyway, I think the next team to fall will be the Miami Hurricanes. I don't think they've played that well up to this point. They barely escaped from Florida State. They barely escaped Georgia Tech last week.
Lost their starting running back.
They did lose Mark Walton for the year. My money would be on the Hurricanes to lose next.
Joe, where would you put Danny's money?
I'd put Danny's money on TCU to lose next.
Ooh.
Okay.
I do.
Who do you think they lose to? That's left on their schedule. Oklahoma?
In the next 3 weeks, not including because they play Kansas this week, and that's
so they're not going to lose this week.
They're not going to lose.
None of these teams lose this week.
Right. They're not going to lose.
My money is more valuable than putting it on somebody that plays Kansas this week.
But they do play Iowa State, who has a big upset this year. I don't think that they lose to Iowa State. But then they play back-to-back weeks against Texas and Oklahoma, and I think they lose one of those 2 games.
Okay.
Texas?
That's 3 weeks away, though. That's a long time for these teams to fucking... Okay. Whatever. I said next team to fall, asshole. Anyway.
I don't think... I mean, maybe Georgia gets upset by Florida next week, but they're not going to lose otherwise.
If I'm there with my...
Penn State could lose this week to Michigan.
John O'Connor, come on.
I'm saying, I mean, obviously anything can happen any given week. We saw 7 ranked teams lose last week to people we didn't think would. No, Clemson lost to Syracuse.
So yeah, was that the most surprising one to you?
Absolutely.
Okay, not me. Washington State 37-3 to Cal. Jesus, they got hammered.
But Cal is a much better team than Syracuse.
No, I would. I debate that. I would debate that all day long.
I would too.
Syracuse is a much better team than they were last year. Syracuse, they lost to, I think, LSU by 8. They held LSU close. They played NC State pretty close, I'm pretty sure.
LSU lost to Troy.
Yeah, LSU's on a 2-game win streak, just beating ranked Auburn. And who else was the team that they beat? Florida. That's right.
Not much of an accomplishment right now.
They were ranked at the time.
They just come off 2 ranked wins after losing to Troy. I think they're all right.
Look, I think Washington State's performance was abysmal, and the score was surprising. Although the score was surprising, I think that the bigger upset was Clemson losing to Syracuse.
I mean, you can argue that, but Clemson also lost Kelly Bryant. He got hurt that game, so they came in. They had to play back and quarterback, and my thing would be Washington State. Jake, what was your biggest upset of the last week?
I said Washington State. I agree with you.
All right. Well, fantastic.
Finally, something we agree on.
Yeah. You can go. I'm done with you two, so go ahead for your next.
Since you guys were bursting at the seams talking about chaos theories for the playoffs, that's my number 2. Like I said, I was reading a bunch of them, potential things. One of them I wanted to bring to light: 2 SEC teams in the top 4 at the end of the season. So, if Bama and Georgia go undefeated, right?
Okay.
In the regular season, right now they're already number 1 and number 3.
Right. In the AP poll.
Oh my God. Yes. No matter the outcome, how does Georgia or Bama get knocked out of the top 4 with only 1 loss, and that being to a top 2?
My reasoning would be that they are not a conference champion. A 1-loss Georgia or a 1-loss Alabama team. It will depend on what else is out there.
And that's what I talked about. So their competition for that team that lost is either a 1-loss Ohio State or Penn State or an undefeated Penn State. Maybe Notre Dame if they end up running the table after beating USC tonight. If they don't win, then a 1 or 2-loss Pac-12 team, a 1-loss Clemson, maybe undefeated TCU, or a undefeated Wisconsin that has played nobody. That's their competition.
You talked about a lot of 1-loss teams in there. If those 1-loss teams are on the table, They're conference champions. Alabama or Georgia is not. I think that would be a big difference.
But that's only one team. And then there's still 3 slots. So
Yeah, there's going to be conference champions. If the ACC champion, Pac-12 champion, and let's say Big Ten champion are either, well, the ACC champion can't be undefeated. The Pac-12 champion can't be undefeated. So if the Big Ten champion's undefeated, they got to be number 1. Well, I guess if Bama wins out, they could be number 1.
If Georgia beats Bama, they're going to have to number 1.
Depends on who comes out of the Big Ten and who they've played.
No one's going to be.
Who's Alabama played so far?
Not a bunch
Florida
of
State.
I know Florida State team that's what, 2 and 3 right now? No, Bama's number 1 in the top 25 right now because Bama was number 2 last year. They lost to Clemson.
You know they're the best team in the nation right now?
I think they are one of the top 5 best teams in the nation. I don't know.
Who do you think beats them right now?
Right now?
Right now, who beats them?
I think Oklahoma would have a shot at beating them.
I think you're high.
I think...
the one-loss team, Oklahoma, who they lose to? Iowa State? You think they beat Bama?
I don't think their loss to Iowa State comes into effect with this whole Alabama question. I think Oklahoma's got a quarterback that can complete passes, not going to turn the ball over. He's going to move the ball against that Alabama defense. Alabama does not have a great offense, despite their putting up so many points on Vanderbilt.
Oklahoma has no defense. We were talking about it last week.
Yeah, that's great.
They have to outscore their opponents, and Bama's defense...
In a shootout, Alabama's proven they can be beat. They almost got beat by Clemson 2 years ago. They did get beat by Clemson last year in a shootout.
That was last year.
That's fine. If you get into a shootout with Alabama, their offense, I don't think, is good enough to go full 4 quarters and outscore an opponent in a
I think their defense is enough to slow down an offensive powerhouse.
But then it wouldn't be a shootout.
Okay, then I didn't call it a shootout. You did.
I'm saying, you asked the question, I'm answering it. Oklahoma would be my pick that could beat them right now. Ohio State, I think, could beat them right now. Penn State, I think, could beat them right now. USC, not from the way that I've seen, but if USC plays the way they played last year, Jesus. I think USC could beat Alabama right now.
USC? Really?
Yeah. I said not the way they're playing right now, but if they play anything like they did at the end of last year.
Yeah, last year. We're talking about this season's team.
It's still
not
Sam
one
Darnold.
point this season do I think Sam Darnold could...
And that's why I said not the way they're playing right now.
And you've said this multiple podcasts. It doesn't matter. Last year doesn't matter. This is different
You're
team.
correct. Last year doesn't count. And
stop talking about last year.
I just said if the way that they're playing right now, I wouldn't have USC over them. But I think to their potential, USC could beat Alabama. Yes.
I don't know. I don't see any potential.
So you don't think anybody can beat Alabama? You think it's
already
over?
It's possible.
You think it's 14-0 Alabama's running the table? 15-0.
I do think that they do, but I think there's teams that can beat them for sure.
Okay.
No one's invincible.
So who do you think can beat them?
I liked your Penn State and your Ohio State picks. They could definitely beat them. I said it a couple weeks ago. I think Georgia has a chance. I don't have any reasons to back it up other than that I just think there's a chance there. But yeah, I think those teams can do it. I don't think TCU, Wisconsin, I don't think Oklahoma could just because of their defense. And with Alabama's defense. So, I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. But I think their team, the way they're just destroying teams this year, with the exception of one game, they have a good shot at being undefeated.
I want to see him play LSU and Auburn before I really make any sort of decision on this.
We'll have a debate gate after they play one of those games. Joe, 10 seconds. Who do you think could beat Alabama?
Present day, I would say Penn State provides the best chance.
You heard it here first. We're all in agreement. We want to see Penn State play Bama in the national championship right now. Go ahead and talk about Eli Manning's son, Connor Manning. For your super stats.
Okay, yes, my super stats of the week. QB Connor Manning. No relation to Eli, Peyton, or Archie. He is the quarterback at Georgia State. Went 26 of 35 last week, 446 yards and 4 touchdowns, and a 47-37 win over Louisiana Monroe. For the running back position, A.J. Dillon out of Boston College. They beat Louisville last week, 45-42, and A.J. Dillon was a big reason why. 39 carries, 272 yards, and 4 touchdowns on the ground. Louisville has no defense.
Number one.
It's the year of the backup quarterbacks.
4 teams used backup quarterbacks just in last week alone.
Yeah.
We have 14 in all have used a backup quarterback in some capacity. Some due to play, like San Francisco last week, for example. Cleveland's done it twice already, putting Deshaun Kaiser in like week, 1 was it?
He started the year.
Dude, Stanford great Kevin Hogan did not have the chance he deserved.
Did he start there?
I think he started the year as their
He
starter.
did. And then they put
then they went to Hogan, and now they're back to
Hogan.
Kaiser.
Right.
Now they're
back to Kaiser. And then Chicago already. Mike Glennon already being replaced. We have Indianapolis started. What's his name for
Jacoby Brissett.
Well, I mean they're starting Brissett now, but the Wisconsin quarterback
Tolzien.
Scott Tolzien started the year for about 5 minutes, and they took him
The
out.
backup to the backup.
And then now Houston, Tom Savage started for all of 5 minutes, and now Deshaun Watson.
Anybody know where Tom Savage went to school?
I know where Deshaun Watson went.
Where'd he go?
Clemson.
That boy.
Tom Savage, Pitt. Green Bay, obviously last week. Tampa Bay, obviously last week. Miami, it was before the season even started. Ryan Tannehill getting hurt, so they've had to bring in Jay Cutler. Minnesota, due to injury, Sam Bradford starting off the year and having to bring in your boy.
No, you didn't. What the hell is that? Are you
kidding
Didn't
me?
I say put that on silent?
It's an alarm.
No. What?
This podcast is brought to you by 80s rock music. Come sail away with us in Backyard Sportscast.
Yeah, there you go. Nice transition there. All right, so he's done, right?
Yeah, we're done with your thing. Let's talk about my worst game of the week now. Thank you, Joe. All right, worst game of the week. Who's excited? Raise your hand. I'm the only one who raised it. Great. So, we have winless teams. Get off your phones. Okay. Georgia Southern, 0-5 at 0-6 UMass.
We kind of planned that.
Finally, UMass has made it. This is their 4th appearance for worst game of the week, and they're 2-1 right now when playing for worst game of the week.
That's career, right? That's not this season.
Yeah, career, because they're winless right now. They've narrowly missed the spotlight for worst games this season. I'm so excited that they're here, and that's 2 winless teams. I haven't seen as many of those as I thought I would.
He just hasn't been looking hard enough.
UMass has played a harder schedule in their defense.
Who they play? The great Tennessee?
It's UMass, come on,
Butch
man.
Jones is gone.
Is he?
He should be. After that UMass game, he should have been.
They only lost to Tennessee 17-13. They've most of their games have been decided by just by one score or less. Can you do less than a score? No. So something else that I've noticed is that for an 0-6 team, they have a pretty established passing game. Andrew Ford, their quarterback, has 12 touchdowns and only 2 picks, and have thrown for over 1,700 yards this season. You don't see those kind of numbers by an 0-4 team.
Yeah, no.
So, but they lose because their defense is just awful. Yeah. Georgia Southern has lost to good teams badly, and they've lost to bad teams badly. C, their FCS school that they lost to, and C, losing to Indiana 52-17.
I'm guessing the good team was Indiana and the bad team was New Hampshire.
In this case, yes.
Okay.
Unless you want to talk about how Indiana is just not a good team.
They're all right.
I think they're 500 right now.
Yeah, which is mediocre. That'll get you the postseason.
So their thing is a couple things. Their offense and their defense is bad. Their defense is horrible because they give up on average 38 points a game. And they're an option offense, right? Georgia Southern?
They are, yes.
Yes, they are. They only have 1,000 rushing yards for the season. And that's amongst the 7-8 people. I know they are because when I was at JU, we played Georgia Southern.
How long ago was that?
They've always been an option offense. Teams don't just decide out of nowhere in recent times, let's do an option offense. It's something that's been doing for years.
They switch out of option offenses.
They're an option offense. Trust me, they have like 8 runners.
Okay.
So they're not really good, and their passing game is very little. So it shows option offense. So given that they can't even do their offense well and run the ball, and they give up 38 points a game again, and they're going up against a guy with a team with a passing attack, I'm dragging this out for worst game of the week. UMass is going to win.
All right.
That's my pick.
Okay.
I was also very excited my last week for worst game of the week. I didn't just do a win or loss. I said they were going to win Louisiana Lafayette by 17 or more, and they won by 17, so I was kind of excited.
That was a good bet.
I would have called it a win if they didn't win by 17.
Yeah, basically what Jake is saying is take the over in this worst game of the week. Both the defenses are terrible.
Yes, and one team does have an offense.
Yeah.
UMass.
Well, the other team has an offense technically. It's an option offense, like he said, but it's not very good.
No.
Their quarterback's got 111 carries for 318 yards. So that's about a little less than 3 a carry.
For all you Minutemen and Southern Eagle fans
No,
out there,
it's not a Southern Eagle.
Georgia Southern Eagles fans.
Yeah, they're Eagle fans.
there.
They're not Southern Eagle
Any
fans.
of you Minutemen and Eagles fans out there that want to purchase tickets to the game, $27 is what they're going for.
Yeah, they go pretty quick though, because there's only capacity is 17,000 people at this stadium. Give me that. Jesus Christ. Get your own research.
Thank you guys for being involved in Worst Game of the Week.
Yeah, no
That's
problem.
all I have.
No problem, bud. 3:30 on October 21st,
Thank you.
which is Saturday. Great.
Game of the Week.
Game of the week
Game of the week.
is also my upset of the week. So I'll cover both here in one little snippet. Number 11 USC, 6-1 on the year, is at number 13 Notre Dame, who is 5-1 on the year. Notre Dame is favored in this game by 3.5 points, but I'm taking USC and Sam Darnold.
Because Danny gets his panties in a bunch for Sam Darnold.
I do. I think he's going to be a fantastic NFL quarterback. And look, you're just hating right now. That's all you're doing.
He's gonna be the new
As awesome as a quarterback in the NFL can be when they throw just as many picks as touchdowns.
He's gonna be the new Red Rifle.
No. This game will be played Saturday at 7:30 p.m. It is a rivalry game, so everybody should tune in if they get a chance. It's going to be very exciting, a lot of emotion.
Yeah, he can only be the new Red Rifle if he actually starts. Come on, Joe.
A lot of talk from these Florida fans about starting quarterbacks in the NFL. The last time I checked, the last quarterback that you guys had that had any sort of chance in the NFL ended up playing baseball instead.
Jacoby Brissett's out there.
When he was at Florida, you guys didn't think he had a chance. That's why he went to, I think, NC State. Anyway.
Cam Newton is pretty good. He won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, went to Auburn.
Went to Florida first.
Yeah, then threw a laptop out a window and
We
decided
laid down the groundwork.
decided it wasn't for him. So, anyway, this game will end one team's playoff run, as Jake alluded to earlier. A 2-loss Notre Dame team without a conference affiliation, although they should be a part of the ACC. That's another story. That will essentially knock them out. It'll push them to the low teens, maybe even to the 20s in the AP poll, and I don't think the committee's really going to love a 2-loss Notre Dame team. And USC with 2 losses, even if they come back and win the conference championship, I think their loss is going to put them out of the outside looking in, maybe top 7, but not top 4. My question is, will Sam Darnold continue his momentum
What momentum?
after a close win versus Utah?
It shouldn't have been close if Sam Darnold's the god you think he is.
Sam Darnold is good. Do you want me to give you some stats on him?
Yeah, if you want to give me last year's stats, have fun.
I will give you this year's stats. Sam Darnold, 2,000 yards passing, 15 touchdowns.
He didn't list,
2,063 yards.
You didn't.
2,063.
you didn't list how many interceptions.
That's perfectly fine. They're 6-1. I think he's doing okay. I'll look up the stats for last week against Utah. Pretty sure he had a decent game. He was almost one of my super stats quarterbacks.
Danny's dudes.
No. How do you feel about the USC Notre Dame game?
I think USC ends up winning. As much as I was heckling you, I think
Okay.
USC wins. But it's a good game to watch. I like your game of the week. Well, I went ahead and just picked the other two ranked teams. Michigan.
Well, hold on. Let's hear we have a third person here who has some notes that he actually did on this game, unlike you. So let's see what he's got to say. Joe, how do you feel about USC Notre Dame?
I think it's gonna be a fun game to watch. I think it's always, even regardless of how bad either team is, they usually play each other close, and I like USC's chances. I don't believe in Notre Dame as being that good. Their only loss came to a close game against Georgia while Jake Fromm was in his first career start, and they had a lot of growing pains on offense there.
They did look good against Michigan State, though.
They did look good against Michigan State, but I also don't believe that Michigan State's that great either.
Yeah, to each his own.
To each his own. Just to throw some stats
Why can't
at you.
you tell me that when we disagree?
Because it creates drama. We don't have time to argue with him.
Sam Darnold's stats from last week: 27 of 50, 358 yards and 3 touchdowns.
You mother. You have your own stats that you wrote down in these notes that you haven't even touched on yet.
But these are his season stats that you threw out there already.
I
2,063 yards.
told you I was going back to
I'm
look
about
up
to
his
move
stats.
on.
Okay. I'm going to add to your point.
I don't care.
I think if USC can stop Josh Adams, I think that they win. That's the only thing Notre Dame has going for them.
Joe's analysis was brought to you by Make-A-Wish Foundation. Thank you, Joe, for that great analysis on Danny's game of the week. Let's move on to my game of the week.
All right, let's do that.
Yeah. So I have number 19 Michigan at Penn State, number 2 in the country.
Okay.
Saquon Barkley is the team.
Okay.
McSore who? If they lose, you'll be a McSore loser.
I'm about done with this.
It's going to be a defensive matchup.
You think so?
Well,
I think it'll be.
It's going to be the best
on one
defense.
side.
Well, Michigan has good defense. Barkley will play the best defense that he has all season, so it'll be interesting to see how good he does. I think he'll be just fine as he is one of the leading the Heisman race. But if Michigan wants any chance, O'Korn is going to have to, completely change how he's been playing.
I think you might be surprised with how Northwestern was able to stop Saquon Barkley for a majority of the game. I think Michigan may be able to do a better job than that. And I think it's going to make that game a lot closer than people think.
So you think Barkley ends up with 12 yards rushing?
I think that they're going to try and eliminate him and make Trace McSorley actually have to win the game for them.
But Saquon Barkley is also the leading receiver, so...
And that's fine. They can do screen passes to him and bubble routes, and make him have to try and make a move. But I'm saying rushing-wise, they might... I think that Michigan's going to be able to shut him down this week.
So it's I think it's going to boil down to how Michigan's offense does, and it's really all on Michigan. If their defense can stop them, Penn State hasn't allowed more than 19 points this season, but they haven't scored less than 21. So I obviously have Penn State in this one.
Penn State's a high-scoring offense. They're favored by 9.5 points. I don't see Michigan slowing them down that much. Plus, O'Korn's not a good quarterback, and I think that Penn State's going to dominate the field position battle. So Michigan's not going to have a lot to work with on the defensive side anyway. Penn State's going to be set up perfectly on most of their drives. So I think this one's going to be a romp.
Joe, is it going to be a romp?
No, I think it's going to be really close. I think it's going to come down to 3, and I think it's going to be low scoring. I think the final is probably 20-17. I think Penn State pulls it out. But I think it's 20-17.
17 points for Michigan. That's a bold statement.
Danny Dishner's bold statement brought to you by
I
Joe.
didn't make the statement.
I just said brought to you by Joe.
Oh, Jesus.
How about you let me talk for once?
Why did you say Danny Dishner's bold statement then?
Because you make a bold statement every week.
That's fine. But
You sponsor the bold statements.
I do not sponsor them.
I sponsor them.
Joe, do you have a game you want to talk about, or are we going to move on to upsets?
We're moving on to upsets.
Moving on to upsets. We'll let you do yours first.
Okay. My upset pick of the week is...
Oh, wait, should we recap last week's?
We should probably recap last week's.
Shut up, Joe. Let's recap last week's.
Fine.
All right.
I would love to recap last week's because I was right again.
Go ahead.
So, Danny did pick the Navy game.
Yeah.
And Navy did unfortunately lose to now-ranked Memphis 30-27.
Yeah, that's true.
I had South Carolina beating Tennessee, which is, I don't know why Tennessee was even favored. And South Carolina won in a really, really, really interesting game to watch. Really fun to watch.
It was real fun in the last minute or two, though. Tennessee had about 4 chances inside the 10-yard line to win that game at the end. Just couldn't do it.
The game was won 15-9 by South Carolina. Joe here, which is the only reason why I really didn't want him to show up this week, so I'm kind of concerned with his picking, had Tennessee winning.
To be fair, Tennessee was favored.
And Joe is wearing an orange shirt. I think he's slowly turning into a volunteer.
No.
So, this week's upset picks. Joe, who do you have upsetting this week?
For the record, Joe's 0-2, so take this with a grain of salt.
I thought it was 0-1.
You're 0-2. I know you put 0-1, but you had picks the first 2 weeks that we did this.
That
You
sucks.
took Wyoming over Iowa
Yeah,
in week
bad.
1, and then week 2 you took Stanford over USC.
And that didn't happen.
That did not happen.
It did not happen.
No.
USC, I think, won by 24 points.
Yeah, it wasn't close. All right. I have Louisville over Florida State.
Of course
say
you
it
do.
right. Say it right.
No, don't.
Louisville
Oh, Jesus Christ.
over Florida State.
Okay.
Florida State surprisingly favored by 6.5. And I say surprisingly because they were not able to stop Lamar Jackson last year. I think Florida State's defense was better last year than it is this year. And Florida State has failed to show much of an offense to this point. So regardless of how bad Louisville's defense is, I think that Florida State would be able to win in a shootout against Louisville.
Okay. Jake, your thoughts on it? I need to look something up real quick. You go ahead.
My only thing I was going to say is the fact that I've mentioned this plenty of times, almost every time I talk about Lamar Jackson. The way he played last year, I think teams are figuring them out, and I think that's also why they're 4-3. So I think that I'm going to have to take some mouthwash after complimenting Florida State. But Jimbo Fisher, I think, is a smart enough coach and have a good enough defense to where they can learn from their mistakes last year, and they'll be able to figure out Lamar Jackson. I think they're going to shut down the offense. I was very close to picking this upset, by the way. This was almost my upset of the week. Very close. I really wanted to choose it. But the fact that Florida State does have a good defense, and I think they're smart enough to figure Lamar Jackson out, that's what steered me away from it.
That's what they're going to have to do. If you can Louisville is one dimensional. If they can shut down Lamar Jackson, they're going to win the game. I mean, that's exactly what Clemson did. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of what Clemson was able to do is shut down Lamar Jackson and score. Yeah. And I don't know if Florida State
if they force Lamar Jackson to have to throw the ball and he is trying to make decisions under pressure, they can force a lot of turnovers, and it could be kind of like a beginning of the year for Florida, and FSU's defense is their main scorer. Might be a possibility.
Yeah, look, I get the points you're trying to make here. Lamar Jackson, since last year, the end of last year, has not produced anywhere near what people thought he was going to do, especially against top-end defenses. Florida State has a top-end defense. I think this year's defense is a little better than last year's, especially with what they're being given on the offensive side of the ball. My thing is Louisville just lost to Boston College. They gave up 45 points to Boston College, including 279 yards, was it, on the ground? 272 yards on the ground to one player on Boston College. Florida State has a dual-threat rushing attack with Cam Akers and Jacques Patrick. They're averaging 144 yards on the ground. I wouldn't be surprised if they put up over 250 yards on the ground this game. They're going to grind it out. I think they're going to be able to control the clock, keep Lamar Jackson off the field. If Blackman doesn't make very many mistakes, I think they're going to be able to move the ball. Lamar was tough to stop for them last year, but that was when he was playing out of his mind. I don't think he's doing the same thing this year. I think they're going to have a much better handle on him, and Florida State, I think, is going to take care of business.
What's your upset pick? Joe, great work. I'm happy with your pick, by the way. I hope you're right.
Me too.
My upset pick of the week is what I already mentioned earlier. You should really pay attention to your own podcast.
Just as a brief recap.
Okay. USC over Notre Dame.
Yeah, USC over Notre Dame. And I have Navy beating UCF. And the only thing I wanted to say is that this is the toughest team UCF has had to play to date.
False.
Who's better than Navy?
Memphis just beat Navy last week. UCF trashed Memphis a couple weeks ago.
Okay, Navy had 5 turnovers. They were playing a sloppy game. I don't think that happens again. And I think if they didn't have 5 turnovers, and a lot of them were Navy's own mistakes, if that doesn't happen, I think they beat Memphis. So that's my point on that one.
That's an easy analysis to give. Don't turn the ball over 5 times and maybe you win.
Yeah, easy enough. And I don't think they do that back-to-back weeks. UCF isn't right now known for their defense. They're known for their offense. So Navy has a running offense, and if they can keep UCF's offense off the field, which that's what an option offense is built to do, just to eat up a lot of time, then, reduce the amount of scoring UCF can do. It's going to be a high-scoring game if Navy has a chance. But, I think with my other crazy picks that I've gotten right so far this year, all I have to say is I think they're going to win, and that should be enough for you.
Look, I mean, go ahead and make the pick. The only thing I would say is that Navy's option offense is a little different than other option offenses. They're not built to control the clock. They run an up-tempo option offense, so they're not going to chew as much clock as other option teams are.
But they probably will adjust that for this game.
I don't think they will. UCF, most points they've given up in a game this year, 23. They've been within 28 points twice.
So why do you think the spread's only 7.5? That's an honest question. I mean,
the spread is only 7.5, I think, because it's at Navy. I think if it was at UCF, the spread would be more like 13.5, 14.
And it is a different style offense. And it's just like playing Georgia Tech or playing
Georgia Southern.
Option teams in general on the same caliber. It's really hard to gauge what the spreads are going to be like because they overall tend to be pretty low scoring on the end because the clock gets chewed. And I know you said about the up-tempo offense, but it's still, when you're running the ball 70-80% of the time, the clock's going to run a lot, and you're going to get fewer drives out of it overall, thus resulting in fewer plays offensively for UCF.
UCF quarterback or Coach Scott Frost is playing quarterback to prepare for the Navy offense this week. That's
saw
pretty
that.
cool. He did win a national championship with Nebraska, or was co-national championship with Nebraska in the 90s. So he is used to the quarterback position. He has run the option before in his career. So it's interesting, their play style preparing for it. But if they win this game, it's going to be a UCF-USF matchup for the conference, at least their side of the conference, come into the year.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be exciting.
Yep. So that's it for college football this week. On to NFL. Jake and I had the same game of the week. It just so happens to involve our two teams. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 2-3, are playing the Buffalo Bills, 3-2.
This was my game of the week, too.
It was Joe's game of the week as well, so all three of ours. How about that? I added another game of the week, the Falcons and the Patriots, just because it's a Super Bowl rematch. I personally think the Patriots are going to win that game. Atlanta's 0-2 against the East, so I think it's going to continue. In the Bucs-Bills game, I think the Bills are a little overrated and the Bucs are a little underrated. I think the Bucs probably end up taking that game as long as Jameis plays. If Jameis doesn't play, I think Buffalo takes care of business and they don't allow a ton of points to Fitzpatrick. But that's all I say about that.
I think Bills win. It's kind of weird that we're choosing our opposite teams. I think the Bills win. But I also think it's decided on which Bucs defense does come to play. If it's the Bucs defense that played against the Bears and the Patriots, then I think, and if Jameis is playing, I think the Buccaneers have a good chance of winning. But if it's the same defense that played last week against the Cardinals or the Vikings, then I think the Bills will end up winning that game. And Jameis, I think, makes a minimal change in my eyes. He hasn't been playing awesome this season, and Fitzpatrick did look pretty good. I know that it was in the fourth quarter, and the Cardinals were probably slowing down on defense, but he didn't look bad, and he's a pretty seasoned quarterback, and he was a starter for a long time. So I think even if Fitzpatrick is playing, if we have our good Bucs defense, I think we still have a shot at winning.
Yeah, they're polar opposites. Bucs have a good offense, bad defense. Bills have a bad offense, good defense. So it'll be interesting to see what happens on Sunday.
Joe, who do you have winning?
Bucks are 0-2 on the road. I think this continues.
Oh,
I think Buffalo's defense keeps them stymied.
All right. Hey, I'm down with that. All right. That's it for the NFL this week. We touched on Rodgers and Zeke earlier. Moving on to some of these other sports we got going on, just a few tidbits. NBA, Gordon Hayward for the Boston Celtics. First quarter of the season opener, fractures his ankle. Out for the season, more than likely. Is the Boston Celtics season over?
No.
They're 0-2. They're done.
You can't come back from that.
No.
Yeah. Well, they brought in Kyrie, but Gordon Hayward was going to be a big part of that team, and I think their season... I think they can still make the playoffs, squeak in, but 8-7 seed maybe.
No. In all seriousness, I think it completely changes the dynamic of what their team was going to be structured around. Yeah. Losing a big guy like that forces a lot more guard play, and I don't think they're going to have the depth to do that, and it's going to affect how they fare this season.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't a huge guy. He ran the shooting guard and small forward. He's
right, but I mean,
right. I get what you're saying though. It changes the whole dynamic.
Right.
Yeah, I got you. All right. NHL. Sabres are 1-4-2. They still suck. On to soccer. Champions League. Entering the second leg of the group stage. So, anyway, that's it for soccer. College basketball starts up November 10th. We'll be covering that in the next coming weeks. Rick Pitino, by the way, just did an interview with Jay Billis. If you have a chance to listen to it, go ahead. He says he had no knowledge of the bribery scandal. I think he's still denying that he had anything to do with the prostitution scandal as well. A lot of problems at Louisville. I think it was a good idea to fire him and get him out of there. Crazy stuff. On to baseball. Baseball. Postseason update, as Jake loves. In the ALCS, the Yankees are up 3-2 on the Houston Astros.
They overcame another 0-2 deficit.
Yeah, they are up 3-0. The home teams won every game in this series. New York actually has not lost at home yet in this postseason. They lost Game 2 on a walk-off double by Carlos Correa. Both the games that Houston won were 2-1, those first two games of the series. But now New York's won 3 straight by a combined 19-5 score. And last night, the Yankees beat Dallas Keuchel. So they have the upper hand, in my opinion. I think from the beginning of the series, they had to beat Keuchel or Verlander. They beat Keuchel last night, so I think it's slanted towards the Yankees, even though the home teams won every game. Who do you guys got for the rest of the series, real quick?
Yankees.
Yankees?
I have the Yankees.
Yankees, great. In the NLCS, it hasn't been much of a series over there. The Dodgers are up 3-1. They were up 3-0. Dodgers have outscored the Cubs 17-7 so far in the series. Game 2, they won on a walk-off home run by Justin Turner. The Dodgers have lost only one game in the postseason, and they have Clayton Kershaw going in Game 5 tonight. Will it end tonight?
No.
No, you think it goes to Game 6?
No, I think they end it tonight.
All right.
What do you think, Danny?
I think it's over tonight, as long as Kershaw doesn't completely screw the pooch. So,
I
don't know. I was going to say shit the bed, but that's not any better. I mean, they can curse on FX now. We can probably curse here. So
only if it's after 11.
No. On American Horror Story, they say
You'll
the
probably
F-bomb
post this
everywhere.
after 11, let's be honest.
Yeah, you're right.
But that's all we got for you guys this week. Hit us with a like, subscribe to us on YouTube, hit us up on Twitter if you have any questions or comments, and we'll see you later.